everybody. Welcome to the Hello Road podcast, where we talk about unique and forgotten cars, road trips, travel destinations, racing, riding, and our current car adventures. I'm Ethan.
I'm Paul.
And in this, our 31st episode, we'll take a look back at 2019, our accomplishments, our failures, what we did, what we wished we had done, and what we'd like to do as we look forward to 2020. Does that sound like a pretty fair assessment of what we want to try to do in this episode?
Yeah, I think it does.
Okay. All right. So this is, I guess we can technically call this season 2 of the Hello Road podcast. If you want to.
Season 2.
I guess. I don't know. Should we do
Mark
that?
2?
Should we call
Mark 2? Maybe
Mark
call
2?
it Mark 2? Like, you know.
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, that's fine. Let's do that. This is Hello Road Mark 2.
Mark 2.
I don't know. That doesn't really work. We'll figure it out.
Either. Yeah.
We'll figure it out by the end of the year, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So it's funny because, so when January 1st rolled around, I was pretty much ready to have the attitude like same shit, different decade. I was like, oh, I'm just going to keep doing the same crap I always do. But instead, I actually took a couple of days to sort of think about it. And there are actually quite a few things I want to accomplish this year. So we can talk about that. But I think first we should go back in time a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Go back in time a little bit. So what did we do in 2019? I think for starters, we started this podcast.
We did. It was January, I think, that we met up and kind of just talked about it. And then it was kind of born from there. That was early-ish in January, I think.
Something like that.
That was the genesis of all of this. And it was after we had hung out for a little bit at the 2018 Radwood LA show. And it just I reached out to you and I was like, hey, let's try to do something.
Sure. I know it's funny because I think we were originally met to talk about maybe putting together a gathering of some sort or a rally or something, but maybe more on that in a little bit. But we talked about how we both had wanted to start podcasting. So we figured, let's start a podcast together. Yep. So kind of funny because we didn't really know each other that well when we started. We were just like, hey, let's do a podcast together. Sure.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. But I think this little experiment has turned out pretty well.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a bunch of really cool guests on. We've done a bunch of really interesting topics, car safety, travel stuff, and but yeah, it's thank everybody for listening in 2019, and we got a lot more coming in 2020.
Yes, we do. Yeah, so that was January. We started that up, and then I think the next thing we kind of did is we did that very cold photo shoot with the charade and with your E46 you had E46. At the time, and up there on the old crest, and that was in like February or something. And I remember, I mean, it was really cold. It was like a weekend.
It was cold.
Morning. It was not soon after it rained.
Yes. That's kind of the most memorable part about going and doing that photo shoot is coming across the landslide
on the way back down that wasn't there when we drove up. We weren't up there that long, maybe an hour, and we came back down, and it was like, and we had swapped keys. You were driving my Charade, and I was driving your E46, and it was like, oh, okay, there's a big the whole entire. I think almost the whole entire road was covered. We had to go in through
covered in dirt and mud.
Yeah.
And and the guy that we came across that was on the other side of the street, he got out of his car kind of shaking. He said, that just happened.
Yeah.
So if we had been literally 30 seconds earlier, we would have been in that big pile of dirt, and there would have been no Hello Road podcast to speak of.
No, there wouldn't have been. It would have been very short-lived and never an episode recorded, just a couple pictures.
Yeah, exactly.
So
on a phone found in a buried Daihatsu.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean that was February, I think, and then we had done some recording. And we did a couple episodes prior to the launch, just so it was all, ready to rock and roll. And I don't remember if we had our first guest on, which was Mr. Bradley Brownell, before or after Radwood
Must have been
Vegas.
After, because the first episode we did was March 14th. So
there we go.
Almost get close to a year. Brad was on April 2nd. So
okay. So yeah, that was
before our Vegas trip. Yep.
Okay. There we go then. Yep. So that makes sense. And it's just kind of funny. The dates coincide. I remember because it was the second episode where I think the first episode I was talking about how I owned this E46 BMW that I had just purchased early in the year.
Yep.
And it was the second episode. I was like, I sold it. It's gone. and it was pretty, and I think I had actually sold it the night that we recorded that show. So it was kind of an interesting, weird day for me.
Did not have that car very long.
I didn't. And yesterday was actually the 1 year anniversary of me buying that car, because I looked back at my Instagram and I was I think there was a couple posts about getting this 2003 325i with a manual transmission, no options, but climate control. Yeah. And of course, doing things like I always do, buying a car kind of in the dark in the rain, which is I do not advise to anybody.
No.
Seeing it in the light the next day, like, hey, I didn't see these dents, but
yes,
live and learn. But I do miss that car. It was a very fun car to drive. Even the short amount of time I owned it, I miss it. I want to get another one.
You do. Interesting.
I do.
Well, it's kind of funny. I actually sold an E46 this year. Was it this year? I don't even remember. Yes, it was this year. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes, it was. I couldn't remember. I go through a bunch of cars. But anyway, yes, I sold 4 cars this year. And I actually don't really miss the E46 that much.
It's because it was auto.
It's because it was an auto. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great handling car. It was in really great condition. And I made some money on it. I bought it to flip it. So that was a pretty good thing. But you're right. It was the automatic that kind of made it not a very memorable car. So
exactly. And that was the car you sold on Bring a Trailer.
Bring a Trailer. Yep. First time I experienced Bring a Trailer. That was a great experience for me because I made some money on the car, and it was quite easy to do. I just took some really nice photos. They actually wrote the listing and everything. So I would do that again if I had the right car for it. I don't think I have the right car for it right now, but yeah. So that would be something I would definitely consider again.
Yeah. That was a fun experience, like seeing that auction and seeing it go, and count down and everything. It was just like, wow, it's one thing when you're watching, a car that like, you're lusting over or something like that. But if it's like when it's a friend's car, it's like even more like, come on, get the last bids in here. Let's sell this thing for way more than it's worth.
That's the fun thing about Bring a Trailer is that you get those people right at the end that they're just like, they're putting their foot down. They want to win a car. So they're going to, and it's like eBay, but 10 times as fun. Because there's comments going and talking about, you should bid a little bit more. It's
exactly
pretty cool.
That was a ton of fun.
I do feel like the car probably sold for a little bit more than it should have because of the Bring a Trailer tax. But I was happy with that.
Can't complain.
I can't complain. No, I made a little bit of money on that car, and we'll roll it into some future purchases. So yeah,
perfect.
And I got rid of some other cars. I got rid of. What else did I get rid of this year? The Chrysler Fifth Avenue is gone.
Fifth Avenue.
That was donated, of course. The 740iL, that was given away on a contest on my YouTube channel. And I haven't heard much about that car since it was given away again. So it's been a sort of a pay it forward 740iL.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. And then, of course, my truck, the big stupid truck, that is gone.
Yes.
So got rid of 4 vehicles, and I only added 1 this year, which is very surprising, which was the 944 Turbo. So
yes.
So I was reading on your either Twitter or Instagram that you have a plan for actually that's going into the future. We can still talk about 2019. But
yes,
you have a car that's sitting in your garage that might get some love.
We'll get to that.
Okay. That's a little teaser for later.
Little teaser for later. Stick around.
Okay. Yeah. So what else did we do in 2019?
Early in the year, we did our first little trip. We did the trip to Vegas for the Radwood show and trip to Hoover Dam. And what else did we go to over there?
Zyzex.
There you go.
Yep.
I was just trying to get us to say it again. So
yes, exactly. The funny thing, it was a fun trip, and the funny thing about Zyzex is, we did that episode on it. That's actually one of our most downloaded podcasts. Is that particular episode? I don't know if you knew that. So that was kind of neat. That it was sort of a non-car episode. I mean, there's obviously some car stuff because we talked about Radwood, but I think the majority of that episode was talking about Zyzex, California, and what a weird, strange, mysterious place that it is. So if you haven't listened to that episode, if you're listening right now, go back and download the Zyzex episode because it's a good one.
Talk about the creepy boat in the middle of the forest or whatever, the palm trees.
It's very strange.
Yes, very strange. And then the creepy
very
swing.
Strange place.
Lots of creepy stuff in that one, but great place. And I've ever since we've gone, I've talked about it to anybody who's like asked about some fun places to go. It's like, oh, you got to go to Zyzex Road. It's really really worth it. So that was a really fun trip. That was not very long after I had gotten my Fit that I replaced. That's the car I replaced my BMW with, and did that little road trip, and it was a ton of fun. Zyzex Road, Hoover Dam, seeing that, and the wonderful city of Las Vegas, Nevada. So, but that was March. I think it was March. Maybe it was early April.
I don't even remember. That was a while ago.
It was so long ago, but it was a good time, and I can't remember how many times I talked about that R31 Skyline in that episode.
What a great car!
God, that was almost my car show car of the year for me. Seeing just that car, I was just like, every time I think about 2019 car shows, and I mean, I went to a lot, but not a whole lot, but that was like my car. I was like that R31.
Definitely.
Gorgeous.
Definitely. I would say out of most of the cars that I saw last year, that's the one that sticks in my mind as being one of the coolest. Yeah. And, I'm constantly looking for interesting JDM cars to purchase. That will be impossible to register in California because of our smog laws, our draconian smog laws. However, I'm just going to go on a record and say I'm just going to register it illegally. I'm just going to have my brother buy it and register it in Vermont, and I will just drive it here. So if you see me driving around in an R31 with Vermont plates, pull me over, give me a ticket. Whatever. I'm just going to be happy that I'm driving around in an R31.
That works.
Yes, that'll work.
That'll work.
What other legal things can I talk about on this podcast? Maybe that's it. That's it for today.
Yeah, that's good. You've met your quota.
Okay, good. So we saw that sweet R31. We saw plenty of other great stuff at that show, but that was the highlight, I think.
Yeah, I believe it was too. And then after Radwood, we had a lot of guests on. We like I mentioned, we had Mr. Brad Brownell on. He was our first guest, and it was, I think we had a slew of like 8 or 9 people named Brad.
Yes,
it's
true.
After him, there was a long slog of Brads.
Yes, we had Brad Hansen. We had, Derek Powell, Manuel Carrillo. We had Stephen Ewing. We had a bunch, and Alana Scher on the on the podcast. We had a lot of great guests, and hopefully we'll have some more. Not hopefully, we'll definitely have some more guests in 2020. Yes. Maybe even some return guests. I actually just saw Stephen the other day. We played pool with him and Derek and Alana, and Alana's husband. And I think Stephen wants to make another return visit to the podcast. So,
all right,
he when he gets back from CES, maybe he said he's going to swing by here in a Bentley. So we'll have many things to.
That sounds like a good time. He can talk. He can tell us all about CES because I know he loves that show. He loves that city. He loves that show. I mean, he's pretty much all about it. So, be anxious to see what he says about it.
Yep.
Yeah, I hope we can all sense my sarcasm. That would be great. And it's been such a fun thing getting to have the guests, because when we do have guests on, we're typically recording we're always recording it at your place, so we'll all convene and be together in the same room, which is great because normally you and I record remotely from each other. Just because the distance that we're in Southern California, it would
traffic, all that crap.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of time to get to each of our homes. So, but it's nice getting to do that. So it's been a ton of fun with all the interviews we've done and getting to know more people and have just making more friends. It's been awesome. So
yeah, totally. It's been a lot. I've learned so much. And I think that's the best thing about having guests on is that you get to talk about stuff that's really least for me, outside of my realm of experience or area of expertise. So I'm looking to do more of that in 2020. I think we have this Trello board. I don't know if you're familiar with, or if our listeners are familiar with Trello, but it's a great way to organize information and schedules and content and stuff like that. But I have this Trello list of all of these people that I want to have as guests on next year. And we have quite a list of some very interesting people. In fact, I just added another one today. Nice. To the bottom of that. So we'll see if we can make that happen.
87 people, in case anybody's wanting to know.
Yes.
It may be, I don't think it's 87, but
it's not 87.
There's a lot of people. So but it's good. I mean, it would be awesome to have each and every one of those individuals on the show, just to get a chance to sit down and have a chat with them about some of the stuff that they're about. And just
in a wide range of topics too. Yes. Obviously, a lot of this stuff is going to be car related, but I want to get people that are travel related and even kind of like, a little, transportation mobility related. I want to, talk about like electric self-driving cars and stuff like that too. It'd be kind of nice to have a wide range of things to learn about. So we're definitely going to make that happen.
We will.
Yes. All right.
So besides the guests, besides the little, I mean, we each had our own kind of little travel things. You've kind of really took off with that. I mean, obviously with your YouTube channel, but you started with getting the press cars, and then the Turo.
That was a big deal.
It was a big deal. Maybe we should touch on the Turo cars first, because that was kind of like your introduction into doing it, and then going for the press cars. But you went on a lot of adventures in some of those cars. I mean, in your videos, just the ones I can the one I can recall off the top of my mind is the Alfa Romeo Giulia one. That was a Turo car, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Yeah, and I think that wasn't in 2019, but that was one of the first ones. And I actually was somehow able to do a deal with Turo where they gave me a bunch of credit to get free rentals on a whole slew of cars. So the Alfa Romeo was one of them, but I've also I got the Knight Rider, the kit replica. That was one of them that I did in 2019. 2018, I also did the DeLorean, which was fantastic. Not great car, but it was fantastic to drive a DeLorean. When is it not fun to drive a DeLorean?
Right, exactly.
And what else did we have? I had a Honda Civic Type R that I rented, and I pissed off a lot of people because I said it was ugly. Honda Civic Type R owners are very sensitive about the looks of that car, in case you haven't noticed.
Look at it.
But anyway, so a lot of people got mad at me about that review. I love the car. I just think it's ugly. But that was kind of a great experience to kind of like dive into, newer cars, because until then, most of the reviews that I had done and most of the travel videos that I'd done have been on my cars or older vehicles. So it was kind of nice to kind of, get some movie cars and some newer vehicles. So, and that was a great experience, and it helped me kind of roll that into, reaching out to manufacturers and having them, trust their cars with me, which I don't know why they did, but they do. So I got, I had the Telluride, the Kia Telluride, which was my first press car ever. And I was celebrating and dancing because I was just an accomplishment in itself to be able to have a manufacturer send me a vehicle. So super excited about that. I was, I don't really, even if it's just something like, I got the Toyota Corolla hybrid sent to me, and I was just elated. Maybe if you're a jaded automotive journalist, you'd be like, it's just a boring hybrid Econobox. But I was very excited to have that car here and to be able to test it out and take it on a little road trip. So
that's the thing. I think with at least with you and I think no matter what, if that was our field or our profession, that we were automotive journalists, I think that you and I would always be elated to get like the new Toyota Yaris hatchback. Yes, I love it. The new Hyundai Accent.
I would, it's funny, like
or whatever. I'd always loved that crap. That would always
I would love an Accent N-Line. That would be rad.
I think it would just, it would be, but that would also probably be our downfall too, because
upon we'd never get fancy cars.
Well, we wouldn't get fancy cars, but I think who's going to want to read a 16-page dissertation on how awesome the Toyota Corolla hybrid is? But that's something that you and I would write, and it would be like, we need to cut this down, guys. It's like, but talk about everything. It would be one of those super in-depth reviews about all the. The things about the car, what makes it awesome, and the stuff that only people like you and I could appreciate and understand.
Yeah. So. Yeah. I could do a 5 video series on the Mitsubishi Mirage and why it's Mitsubishi's most important vehicle.
Yeah.
But that was I'm glad that I was able to get a few press cars, and I've got a few more coming up in 2020. So, it's not likely I'm going to be getting a Bentley SUV or anything like that anytime soon. But I think the next one I'm going to be getting is a Kia Niro, the EV, which is going to be kind of fun. So I'll be able to do a little EV review.
Oh, okay, cool.
Maybe I'm trying to work something out with Chevrolet. I haven't really quite figured that out yet. I asked for a 4-cylinder Camaro, but they didn't have any. So I'm not exactly sure. I might end up getting something like a, Trailblazer or something like that. We'll see. But anyway, it doesn't matter what it is. I'm going to find something interesting about that car. I'm going to find an interesting place to take it. So
nice.
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. That was, congrats on that. That was a very big accomplishment for you. And, the reviews have been awesome, and
Thanks.
so what did we have? We had the Telluride. You did the Corolla
Kia
Hybrid.
Soul, Corolla Hybrid, Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross. Yeah, and the Hyundai, I had a Hyundai Santa Fe that was actually a rental, but that was also 2020, so that kind of fits in that. It wasn't a press car, but it's a new car.
New car, yeah.
Yep.
And but I mean, it's it's been great seeing like the flip side of it from the dilapidated hoopties that are normally strewn across the podcast and your YouTube channel to what does Ethan think of a Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross? So
I will say
it's been great to like see there are two sides to it. It's not just single sided. So
yeah, I mean, pretty much I do sort of have a split personality on the YouTube channel. I mean, I have all these, like you said, broken down terrible cars that need to be fixed, and I'm also doing reviews of new cars. But I like to think that I do the reviews of the new cars from a different perspective. Like I can't, there's so many people making reviews of new cars. I can't just do the same thing that everybody else does. And I can't do it at the same time. There's like, you look at the new Hyundai Sonata that just came out, which is, kind of an interesting looking car.
Yeah.
And there's, 200 videos that go up the day that the embargo is lifted. And I would just get lost in that. So, I'll wait a couple months until the car's been out for a while and then ask Hyundai if I can get one and try to do something a little different. So,
and that's always kind of been the thing, because it's still the Hello Road aspect of it's still there, because you may have this new car, but now we're going to take it on an adventure with, typically your family's with you, and you don't want to take your family in. Not that there's anything wrong with the Prism GSI.
But, there's a lot wrong with it.
But on one of the trips to whatever pinball museum or something like that you guys have found, which is awesome. So take the new cars out there that shouldn't break down, and should get you there safely and comfortably. And there we go. So. No, kudos to you, my friend. That's been
thank you,
awesome.
And hopefully there'll be some more stuff in the 2020. Yeah. We'll see.
We shall see. So, what else did we do? Oh, some of the things we did accomplish this year. I spent, I think, approximately 11 months talking about painting the hood on my Daihatsu.
And then you spent 11 months actually painting the hood.
I spent 11 months painting the hood. No.
No. You did paint it a couple times.
I did, yeah.
Yes.
And it was all hopes and in preparation for the Radwood LA 2019 show, and then
your damn sickness.
I got kidney stones and was sidelined for it. But
we don't need to go into the details of that again. But
no. But so that was a miss by me on that one, and it just was really that was one of the most disheartening parts of the year for me, because it was it's something that I was looking forward to all year, and then come down to the final days leading up to it, and didn't happen.
That was a bummer.
It was, but the good news is the hood's painted now and it's done, and I can stop fussing and worrying about the damn thing. So, and we're good. So So there we go. The hood's done. So that was an accomplishment, but there was a defeat too. Many defeats. So
yes.
But what else fun stuff happened? So you had all that going on the YouTube stuff with your car reviews. I sat here trying to paint a hood on a car, and that was pretty much it on my end. I didn't get too crazy with anything else over here. It was just 2019 was, it was great that all this podcast stuff happened, but at the same time, it was a pretty tough year. It was a tough year for me personally. There was a lot of crazy stuff going on, but looking forward to 2020, where hopefully, fingers crossed, everything is all good.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. We won't get into politics on this podcast, but let's not talk about that. But we can talk about cars. Yes,
we can talk about cars.
Yeah. So, 2020. Like I said, I was originally just going to go into this year and be like, more of the same. But I do have a lot of big things that I'd like to try to accomplish this year. I don't know if they're all going to come together. For me personally, I looked back at 2019. I was able to put together 39 videos, which I was kind of surprised that it was that many. And, some on new cars, some on used cars, whatever, cars that I have. My goal was to do 52 in 2019, and I didn't quite match that, because you got a full-time job. I'm trying to do this on the side. But I really do think I want to try to do more than 39 videos this year, but not just the quantity. I don't want to just increase the quantity. I want to try to think of some bigger projects to do. I want to do some videos on, I've been thinking a whole lot about like how much commuting sucks and how much driving on back roads is fun. And I want to do more videos about, let's just all stop commuting. Like if there's a way to like try to find ways where we can make most of our driving fun and not just a slog through hell, especially when you live in Los Angeles. So I want to do a couple of videos on that. I don't really know where it's going to go yet, but thinking about like, public transportation and thinking about, self-driving cars and thinking about how I really want the bulk of my driving in 2020 to be fun driving and not just boring slogs through traffic. And I was trying to think if there's ways that we can all as car enthusiasts do that more, where we're spending less time in our cars, being miserable and more time in our cars. So basically, maybe there's even an environmental benefit where, even just if you can convince your job to work from home for one day out of the week where you're saving X amount of, carbon emissions, and that maybe makes you feel a little bit better about taking your gas guzzler out through the canyons,
Right.
So that's one of the things I've been thinking about a little bit is like, okay, as a car enthusiast, you have the whole thing like most people aren't driving EVs, and you do kind of need to think about what your carbon footprint is when you're an enthusiast of something that spews pollution. So that's one of the things I want to try to talk a little bit more about in 2020. And I haven't really formulated. This is just all kind of like, verbal diarrhea, like brain, like stream of consciousness coming out of my stupid mouth. But, I think that's something it's important as EVs become more popular and, the roads get more crowded and traffic gets worse, I've even been thinking about like, what are some like partnerships that I could do personally with environmental groups, like, even land trusts. So like a land trust is like a organization that like takes land and tries to set it aside so that it's not developed on. Maybe something like that is a good thing for a car enthusiast to get involved with. That way there's like when 20 years from now, when you do want to go driving in the canyons, it's not just all built up. There's actually some, scenery. There's undeveloped land out there. So as car enthusiasts, maybe there's environmental groups that we should be trying to work with that can keep driving fun for many years.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. That's an amazing idea. I'm on board. Just tell me where and when, and I'll be there to help.
Exactly.
But that sounds like an absolutely exceptional idea.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like, it's like usually most good things in my life come from my wife. So she's like, why don't you think as a car enthusiast, maybe you should think about like your environmental impact. I'm like, oh yeah, that's probably a pretty good idea. So I can really credit her for like planting the seed. And otherwise I'd just be like, let me buy a car that gets 4 miles per gallon and be happy about it and not think about anybody else.
Exactly. Well, very cool. Very cool. That's it's a lofty goal, but I think that there's definitely a lot of good that can come out of that, and and also great information. And who knows, maybe you could be the one that's going to start the revolution.
I highly doubt that, but at least we could probably find some people that would be willing to be on our podcast that could talk about something similar.
Go. That works too.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So cool. You have a big thing that you want to try to accomplish, and I mentioned it earlier. The little teaser that we had about this vehicle that's been sitting in your garage, or your parents' garage, or
yes. Now, if
we've mentioned this in the past,
we did go all the way back to episode 1, I think, and
yes, it's in the title of episode 1.
I think it was. My 1970 Volkswagen Beetle is going to be 50 years old this year.
Wow.
And this is now I must preface this by this has happened before. It happened in 2010 when I was like, this car is going to be 40 years old this year.
I should do something with it.
I should do something to it. And I didn't really accomplish much. So it's going to be 50 years old this year. And I just need to do something with it. It's not getting kicked out of my parents' house. That's where it's been living its entire life, basically. But I have room for it now, and I'd really like to get it back over here, because I think if it's with me, I'd have more of a desire and motivation to work on it, because it would be in my garage and I can go
be staring at you in the face.
Yeah, pretty much. And also, my dad wants to build like a wood workshop where it's sitting.
Okay.
So it's just, one of those things. So, but no,
refresh my memory. Does it have an engine in it?
It does. Everything.
It does. Okay.
It has everything it needs for the most part. It just, with the exception of a battery and new tires, like those are probably the two biggest expenses that the car needs. Other than that, it just needs time to have me fiddle with it. I need to fiddle with the electrical, fiddle with the fuel system, the brake system, but it's a bug. It's not very what's the word I'm looking for? I'm trying to find a fun word to say. Well, either or. It's not very complicated to work with.
Yeah. And there's just so many parts available for that car. Every part is available.
It is. And it's funny because I look at it like that, because it's the exact opposite than being a Daihatsu owner, where
nothing's available.
you fight with the other 6 Daihatsu owners if there's one that shows up in a junkyard, and you're all running out to some city in BFE to start stripping it down and bring home as much of the car as you can. Everything's available. I will say that a big part of the kick in the butt for this, besides the fact that it's going to be 50 years old, is at my new job, we have the ability to purchase a lot of these parts from a lot of these companies, and that's going to help out a little bit. A lot bit when it comes to the financials of things, but also just having all of that at my disposal is really, why would you not take advantage of the ability to get something at a little bit of a discounted, some parts at discounted rates and stuff like that, to finish something as special as this car is. It's original owner. My mom and my grandmother purchased the car. They picked it up in Wolfsburg, Germany, drove around in Europe for 2 weeks with it, and then had it put on a boat and shipped back home. And so I owe it to the car. I need to get it done. So I want to focus on that car this year. The Daihatsu, that's the thing with the Daihatsu, is like, it'll always, knock on wood, but it'll always run. Like I cannot start it for like a month and it just kicks on like it's okay. What are we doing now? It's always been, it's mechanically perfect. It just kind of looks like crap. Whereas the Volkswagen, it
doesn't look that bad.
It doesn't. It's okay. But the Volkswagen, like it's not. You see, there's kind of two types of Volkswagen Beetle you'll see on the road nowadays. They used to be everywhere, obviously, but now they're very kind of they're few and far between. You're either going to have a very, 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 very nice one, or you're going to have an absolute beat to shit one. And my Bug kind of, I guess you would say, falls kind of in the middle. It's got a brand new paint job on it, but the paint job cost me $500 in like 2000. And yeah, it's at least the car's one color. It's not the best, but at least the car's one color, because
that's fine.
When I was driving it, it actually was two colors because of the slight accident I had with it when I was 16, 17 years old. So the goal is to get that thing it doesn't have to be perfect and show ready. It has to run, turn on, and drive under its own power. And from that point on,
and stop would be nice.
Oh, and probably. Stop. Yeah, stop. That would be nice too. Yep. No, but once it can do that, then everything else can come into play. It should be, I can do a couple things here and there, these months, but as long as the car can start, stop, drive, and everything. And I want to do it before its actual birthday, because I have all the paperwork from when the car was produced. Oh,
that's cool.
Yeah, so it would be June 29th would be its day that it was picked up. So sometime.
That's a reasonable goal, I think.
Yeah, about 6 months. I think I can definitely do it. So got to do some work on the house first, but after that, it's bug time.
Okay, and you're just gonna have it towed to your place and then push it in your garage, or
no? I'm gonna actually do the majority of the getting it to run, stop, and all that stuff while it's at my parents' house, because if I actually have a really, it's kind of a scary thing that they used to make for Volkswagens. It's called it's a tow bar. You just hook it up to a truck, and it clamps onto the whole front axle beam of the Volkswagens. Without getting into too much detail of how it works, it's very scary. But either or, So I would be able to tow it over to my house with my father's truck. But my issue I have is, you've seen my driveway. It is a little steep, and I just envision myself trying to push it up with my dad or something, and then I don't like the steepness of it. So
just leave it there.
We'll get it running and driving, and then I'll bring it over here. So
cool. Well, that's exciting. I think it's a really good story. Not only is it cool that you got that story of your mom and grandma like driving it in Germany and then having it shipped over here, but the fact that it stayed in the family for 50 years, that's not common. A lot of times the cars get just even the last 10 years, that the fact that they kept it there for you for 10 years is pretty great.
Yeah. Well, it hasn't started since 2003. So it's almost been 20 years, but, but
it's going to start right up.
I think so. It very well could.
It's a bug. It's not going to give you too much problem.
No, it won't. So that's kind of my big 2019 or 2019. It's not even 2019 anymore. My big 2020 goals to get that thing running and driving, and I'll be a happy person if I can get that accomplished. And I think everybody in my family and in my immediate circle of friends who have always kind of just given me so much shit about it will be happy to see that it's done. We'll be very happy to see that it's done. So, or at least running and driving. So so that's my big one for this year.
Okay.
Big goal.
Great.
Big goal.
Cool. I'm trying to think of what else I want to try to get done this year. Let's see. I do, it's kind of hard to go throughout a year without thinking about buying some weird, strange, obscure vehicle. So that's probably going to happen. I would really, really like to find a nice JDM vehicle, because there's a bunch that are on my list. I would say the R31 is not at the top of the list. I really have a thing for the Pulsar GTIR. If I could find a way to get one of those in my hands, I would be very, very excited. Probably going to buy a couple weird cars. I actually recently started getting into looking at auctions, so salvage auctions. And I actually signed up for this site called Auto Bidmaster, which basically allows you, as a non-dealer, you pay this fee. And as somebody that's not a dealer, it gives you access to Copart auctions, which is where most salvage vehicles end up, or many of them do. And recently I used that account to purchase a car. It wasn't a weird vehicle, but I don't know if you saw did you see on my Twitter?
I did.
You did. Okay.
I was waiting for you to spill the beans on it.
Okay. So we'll probably have more on this in my video series, in the next couple weeks, and it hasn't arrived yet. So I bid on a 2015 Ram 1500. I know this is just a boring truck, right? yeah, it's pretty boring. But they do have on Copart. There's running and driving non-salvage vehicles, clean title vehicles where they're generally like repossessed cars. Okay. So as somebody that's not really super well versed in auctions, it probably wasn't a great idea to purchase a relatively expensive car off of Copart as my first one, because this car was close to $12,000.
Okay.
So, and I basically just took all of the money that I made selling my F-250, which was just kind of sitting around. Mm-hmm. I figured, okay, I'm going to try an experiment in 2020. I'm going to try to buy a cheap truck, and I might try to rent it out on Turo and see if I can make a few bucks on the side on Turo. So my thought was, okay, I'm going to buy a truck that people can rent and maybe move stuff around, or if they want to take a camping trip or go to the beach or something, So that's what I did. I got this thing actually, and you go through this whole process of going through the auction, and it's actually like a real auction. Like it's a live thing where you get to bid, and you hear other people bidding online. And then I found out that I was the winner, which was pretty exciting.
Nice.
And I paid the fee, and then it was in Phoenix, so I paid a hauling company to ship the car to me. But today I get an email in the morning, and they said, "Oh, the car's not running and driving, so we can't pick it up." So I was like, okay, this is a great first experience in like trying to like take a risk with an auction. Like, did I just buy a car that like has a blown engine or something like that?
Oh boy.
So I will say I still don't know that, but my guess is that the car has been sitting for a long time, and it probably is just a dead battery.
Right.
Because Copart did verify that it runs and drives. It only has 80,000 miles. It was a repossession. It wasn't in an accident. In all likelihood, cross my fingers, it's just a dead battery. But the drivers can't verify that, so because they're not allowed to. But for liability purposes, they can't do that. So the truck will probably be delivered tomorrow or the day after here, and I will quickly find out if I made a very, very bad decision.
Open the hood and there's no engine.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. It's like, as a non-dealer, it's kind of a tough game to be in, because California law doesn't allow non-dealers to purchase cars in California. You have to be a dealer to like salvage cars or auction cars. I mean, so there's an auction in Van Nuys, which is like 5 minutes from my house, but I can't legally purchase a car there. So I figured, all right, Phoenix isn't that far away. The shipping is like $400 to have it shipped here. So I'm like, okay, I can, the car was cheap for what it is. I paid 12 grand for it. It's probably worth like 18 or 19. So I figured, okay, I could throw that little bit of money into it. And, but yeah, so we'll see. This could have been like maybe the biggest financial disaster of 2020 is happening within the first couple of days. But we'll see.
Let's hope not. I think it's going to be fine. It's probably just a dead battery.
I'm hoping so. I don't know if you're familiar with Sam Crack on YouTube, where he buys auction cars, and he's really well versed. And I think maybe I watched too many of his videos and got a little bit too excited about the idea of buying an auction car.
Well,
yeah.
No, I think that's a great idea, though, that provided everything's all good with it, that you rent it out on Turo, because everybody needs a truck. Sometimes, there's people that can drive trucks all the time. I mean, I'm not one of those people, but there's times when I need a truck, and it's like, I'm glad my dad has his little Ranger, because I go and like I just used it this past yesterday. I went and got it to move a ladder that was too big to fit in the fit, and I was like, I'm getting the truck, and it was just like, it's nice to have that luxury there when you need it, and that's one of the beauty things about Turo is like, I just need it for a day. I just need a truck real quick. And it's like, you can do that. And there you are with your beautiful Ram 1500 with 80,000 miles and soon to be brand new battery. So
yeah, exactly. We hope. Yeah. I mean, it's all kind of like a lot of stupid risk I'm taking right at the beginning of the year. Because, it's possible that I won't make that much money on Turo, but I think the idea is that I owned a truck before. I never really drove it. I drove it like 500 or 600 miles all for like 6 months. And then I realized I should sell it. But I figured, well, maybe if there's a way to kind of pay for the insurance and kind of pay for, pay the car back, the investment, and hopefully not just to let it sit there. When it's sitting, hopefully it's making, it's not sitting too long and it can make a little bit of money. So we'll see. I've heard some horror stories about people having insurance problems when the cars get wrecked on Turo, but I don't know. I'm just figuring it's a new year. Let's try something, see if it works. If it doesn't work, I'll sell the truck.
There you go. I mean, no harm, no foul, really. So that's fun. Yeah, I can imagine. So all those online auction sites, I think about like you're talking about the JDM cars. There's sites you can go on and you can like, I don't know. I'm sure there's a lot more to it than I think, but you can see like all like the live bids that are going and all
just
that.
Like that.
And it's just like, oh man, look, there's a Pulsar GTIR right there, and just start clicking the mouse button and. Yeah, before you know it, well, not really. I mean, you'd have to have lots of people on the ground and everything like that. But that's how a lot of these companies purchase that sell JDM cars in the United States are buying them. They'll buy them at auction, and there's dime a dozen over there. Pulsar GTIRs, sure, we got them.
I keep seeing a lot of them pop up. Yeah, recently. So, well, that's a kind of fun thing to look at on some of those auction sites is that you have people that, the people get rid of cars for all sorts of different reasons. Obviously the majority of the cars you see on those sites they're crashed. But there's a few cars that were obviously donated, like my Fifth Avenue I don't think it ended up on Copart. I hope not. But I saw a low mile 86 Honda CRX, perfect condition. I don't know what was wrong with it. Maybe it couldn't pass smog or something, but it was, I think it ended up selling for $1,500. So,
oh, wow.
You got to add in all the fees and stuff. So it's not really as great of a deal as it sounds, but there's a Ford Probe up there, a purple Ford Probe that looks pretty rad, right? That's up there right now. There's a Beretta Z26.
That Ford Probe purple. I remember that color.
Yeah. Yep. It's a manual transmission. It's the V6. It's kind of the fun one. It's the GT, the second gen, not the first gen Probe.
Okay.
And I don't know. It's just fun to like poke around. It's just another venue for me to waste time looking at stupid cars online, and make really bad decisions, which I tend to be pretty good at.
There we go. I think that would be one of my goals for maybe we'll put it out there 2021, 2022 would be to buy a car at auction like that. But I'd like to buy something, weird and obscure and most likely very hard to register in the state of California. But that would be that's one of those like bucket list things for me is to buy a car at auction like that. Cause
it was fun.
It seems like it would be a ton of fun, but at the same time,
I haven't got the car yet.
Nerve-wracking. So we'll see how your experience turns out, and mine should be exactly the same. So
sure, I mean, I could show you, I could give you the list of the sites that I use. So basically, a lot of the cars that you can look at Copart.com. Most of the cars are there, and I use this site called Auto Bidmaster, which there was like a bunch you could choose from. This one just seemed to have like the best search out of all of them. Like many of the sites have access to all the same inventory, but this one was just easier to search with. So I chose that one. And there's a fee of I think it's like $200 just to join. And then you have to put a deposit down in order to basically let them know that if you win an auction, you're actually going to pay for it.
Got it.
Because if you don't pay, then they owe Copart like $400 or something. So
got it.
So it's kind of an interesting way to sort of skirt the need to be a dealer. So I'll have more to report in the next few episodes, but nice. So far it's just a learning experience to see if this is something that I want to continue in 2020. But anyway, so that's a little diversion of my stupid auction car stuff. But we do have we have been talking about we've got a bunch of listeners now, and we've made a little community of people that are we've been talking with and met over the course of the last almost year. And we're talking about what if we can do some sort of actual in-person event? Obviously not all of our listeners are in Southern California, but some of them are. And maybe we could do some sort of gathering or a meetup or something like that. Or I don't know. I guess that's a question for the listeners. If that's something you would be interested in, let us know.
Yeah, for sure. If you want to see the painted hood on the charade,
yes,
let us know. That's something that we have been talking about for a little bit. And, you've said it the best. I mean, I'm excited. I think that would be a very fun thing to do, to get out there and, meet some of our listeners and just have a good time and just chat about cars and other weird, odd things, travel things, that would be a good time right there. So look forward to something like that, this year, because it shouldn't be too difficult for us to put something like that together. So I think we could do it, and we should do it. We will do it. So for sure.
Yeah. And I think the other thing we've been sort of talking about, and this is maybe actually one of the reasons why we first got together, but even before we started talking about the podcast, is I've had the idea of doing some sort of rally, and I found out that you have had a similar idea, kind of like with the podcast. So, there's plenty of auto rallies out there, not races, but actual like rallies where people get out and drive their cars in some back roads and have some good times. And it's, an organized event where you got some activities that people can do that kind of set it aside, make it a little bit more exciting than just like a drive.
Right.
So we've been talking about that a little bit. I don't know if we really got anything solidified, but I think 2020 would be a good goal, maybe later in the year, to try to put something together where we're getting like-minded people together with interesting and weird and unique vehicles to join us on a multi-day drive through some great scenery and some back roads, some great driving roads, and put some unique destinations in there where we can stop and really enjoy some roadside attractions and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know if that's anything that our listeners would be interested in doing. I think if we did want to try to do something like this, it would probably be in Southern California, at least to start. So just let us know on the send an email, ethan@helloroad.tv, and let me know, or reach out to either of us on Instagram or Twitter.
Yeah, no, totally.
Let us know what you think.
Yeah, I we've talked about this for a while now, and I think it would be pretty awesome if we could put something like this together for everybody. Just something a little bit different, with the emphasis more on kind of the scenery, the roadside attractions, and just the uniqueness of the cars and stuff like that. And even then, like, I think about it, and it's just like, well, if you want to bring a Toyota Previa, bring a Toyota Previa. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's okay. We're not out to, set speed records going to and from places, because, the charade can only do about maybe 75. So, and that's on a good day. But no, that's the kind of thing that I'm looking forward to doing, is getting out and enjoying that car and seeing some cool places with it, because that car's only ever really known commuting, and it would be nice to get it to do something other than that. So
yeah, exactly. And I think you kind of hit it on the head, where it's like, if you have a Previa, definitely bring it out.
Yes.
But I think it's kind of about like, something unique. You should have a story about your car. There should be something noteworthy about it, something that you can say that makes it special to you. Yeah. And I think that it really should. I would like to try to create a rally that is more about like the experiences and less about, it's not going to be a race. It's not going to be a race like a douchebag exotic car rally. It's like not a race
to coast.
Yeah, exactly. But I still would think that, like, if you got a 911 or a Boxster or something, that would fit in totally well too, because I think the roads that we would choose would be like incredibly scenic and like incredibly great driving roads. Maybe you wouldn't be running at the same pace as the Previa, but we wouldn't want to exclude people that have fun cars either.
Exactly.
We want it to be a nice mix of people that just want to enjoy the scenery versus people that really, really want to enjoy the roads.
Yeah.
I think that's something we got to try to do in 2020, and I think we got to try to make it pretty affordable. And I would love to do it a multi-day thing where we've got like, we get a couple hotels, we maybe have some restaurants that we can stop at, and a couple parties. I don't know. I think it sounds like a great idea. Probably really hard to put together, but I think it's something we should try to do in 2020.
We're going to try it. We're going to try it.
Right.
It's going to be awesome.
Yes, definitely.
Well,
cool.
Very, very good. So 2019 wrapped up, and we're on to 2020 with lofty goals.
Lofty goals. Yes, we'll see.
But we'll get there.
Achievable.
I think so. It's achievable. It's nothing too.
Okay, here's what we got to do. If we do this rally, you got to take the bug on the rally.
Ooh,
that's what we got to do. That's an even bigger challenge.
That's a good one. I used to always say about my Bug that it was the only car I'd ever trust to drive across country, because my dad and I rebuilt the engine on that thing together, and it's, it's just simply following instructions and just check and double check. And, I was pretty young when we put the motor together. I think I was 14 or 15 years old. But my dad's, he's done it a few times, and, his background as a mechanical engineer, he kind of knows what he's doing when it comes to that sort of stuff. So, I was very proud of the fact that when I was driving the Bug in high school, that it never once broke down on me. There was one time it ran out of gas, but that was it. Other than that, there was never an issue that it had versus some of my other friends that had Volkswagens, because, late 90s high school parking lot in Southern California was full of Volkswagens that, now are worth a ton of money. One of my friends had a early bus, but they'd always have problems. They'd always be leaking oil and stuff. My Bug never did. So that's now that you say it like that, maybe the Bug is going to be the one to go on the rally.
I don't know.
Oh boy. I'll tell you what, if it breaks down, not that it would, but if it did, it would be easy to find a part versus if something was to happen to the Daihatsu.
Sure. I know. Exactly. Well,
I'm going to have to think about this one. All right.
I have to think about what I would take too, because my initial thought was 944 turbo, but then I'm like, you know what? I got to take the Nova probably, because it's that hasn't been on a really long trip with me.
Yeah.
It's mainly just kind of been around LA. So might have to be the Nova.
There you go.
Yep.
Oh.
All right. So yes, lofty goals for 2020 for the Hello Road podcast, the Hello Road videos. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what goes on.
We'll see.
All right.
I think I think we can call it at this point. So
yeah, definitely.
It was good times, good times. And
we'll have to make sure that we listen back to this episode a year from now and see if we hit these goals. Future us, listen to this podcast.
Future us, listen to
it again. Yes.
Yes. Well,
all right. Good. Well, we always like to end off the show with where we can find everybody, where we can find each other on the interwebs. What about you, Paul?
Everybody can find me at Instagram and Twitter at Paul's Finest Hour, where there's probably going to be a lot of Volkswagen stuff going on.
Yes. Yep. Mm-hmm. I'm at Mr. Ethan Tufts, Mr. Ethan Tufts on Instagram and Twitter, and youtube.com/Hello Road. And recently just posted a video about the Porsche 986 Boxster S, and a video on the 2001 Toyota Tacoma. So kind of a wide range of cars going on lately. And I think the next video might be about my Grand Prix. We'll see.
Sweet.
All right. I think that's it, everybody.
Have a good night. Thanks for listening.